Kristen Walters. I live on the west coast of Vancouver Island on unceded Buclulet First Nation territory, and I represent Rain Coast Conservation Foundation.
My name is Michael McDonald. I'm the CEO of the Bruce Trail Conservancy, and I live in the Hamilton area, but the Niagara Escarpment goes all the way from Queenston to Tobermory.
My name is Taylor Wilson. I'm with Coastal Action, formerly Blue Nose Coastal Action Foundation in the South Shore of Nova Scotia.
I focus on issues that are very place-based in British Columbia, but we are all more or less addressing the loss of biodiversity and the loss of habitat, and we see these cascading effects that it has on our communities and our society, our economies, and so I wanted to come and meet with folks from other parts of the country who are doing this really important work and band together to talk to parliamentarians to advocate for implementing the 2030 biodiversity strategy and the nature accountability legislation.
Canadians from all stripes and all places across Canada really care about protecting nature. And so when we can find ways to work together, we can get better conservation outcomes. It's having a coordinated approach to make sure that biodiversity is protected across all levels of government. And, we're going to work to get some support for that today.
I am meeting with Senator Rosa Galvez, which I'm really excited about. Her advocacy work for nature over so many years. She's had such a beautiful career.
It is so important that the more we talk, we see that we have many common goals. We know the causes of our multiple crises: pollution, biodiversity loss, contamination of air, water, and soil. And so we need science.
It was really valuable to hear her insight, and also exciting that she wanted to co-author an op-ed with us.
Engaging on the national level is important to make sure that there's an awareness of federal investments in biodiversity and in nature. Having that national commitment to nature is really important.
Essentially, we were advocating that the biodiversity targets need some accountability and some teeth, and so we really were imploring the importance of having a scorecard or tools to help us measure biodiversity through the targets.
We spoke to MP Elizabeth May. It was an absolutely wonderful conversation, very positive, very inspiring. I think she provided a lot of insight and advice to us as NGOs and as environmental stewards on how to put pressure on government, on MPs, and also how to move forward with our asks. So yeah, that was a huge highlight for me this morning. It's been really wonderful to be able to lean on other NGOs and Nature Canada to be able to enter those meetings. It was very clear that, if you felt like you could lead a meeting, you could lead that meeting. If you felt like you could, take notes, then you could take notes, that sort of thing.
It's really important for people who understand nature and appreciate the intrinsic value of every single living thing to come and talk to their members of parliament. Never stop pressuring elected people and people who seek to be elected, which means dropping into constituency offices in the ridings. Remind them, be there all the time.
Yeah, I've had some great meetings today. I think one of the things that made me really happy is that we've got great support for the protection of nature and biodiversity. And I think when you can find local examples of where biodiversity or wildlife thrives, then people are really apt to relate to that, and that helps them want to protect more species. So I found making local connections about some of the issues is a really effective way to bring policy forward.
I get to sit down with great organizations like the Bruce Trail Conservancy. Of course, one of my favorites because it runs right through the riding of Milton. How lucky we are in southwestern Ontario and truly right across Canada to have access to so much great nature. But as we reflect on how fortunate we are, we also have to reflect on how vulnerable nature is. In the grand scheme, Canada desperately needs a national biodiversity strategy, and it's important that we sit down together and talk about mutual priorities and focus on programs and funding for some of our most important assets.
I think coming to events like these really remind me of how many people truly care, and these are our livelihoods, these are our careers, this is our passion. And seeing so many people in a room, meeting with members of parliament, advocating for this important work does make me hopeful, The youth makes me hopeful. The power that the Indigenous nations have in reclaiming their stewardship of lands and waters makes me hopeful. There's a lot of challenges ahead of us in terms of biodiversity and climate change, but I think we can do it.